Hello everyone. Now today we will discuss few questions of NLP, natural language processing. These questions are important for your semester exam or those who are preparing some competitive exam or interview is questions needed on their topics, different topics of NLP. Let's start the lecture. Let me share the screen. Okay. I hope you can see it, right? Okay. So first question, NLP is defined as a field combines of which of the following areas. So I quickly going through the answers. So that's why I'm writing the answers here. So this is a combination of computer science, um, human language and artificial intelligence. Next question, which stage of processing involves extracting hidden meaning, intent, and often considered the most difficult part of computers, and that is none other than the semantic processing related to meaning. Right. Then identifying the intended meaning of an ambiguous word is a semantic technique known as so identifying the intended meaning of an ambiguous word that creates confusion, right? Is a semantic technique that is known as word sense disambiguation. So again, a very important topic. Then you can see the chapter-wise names. I think you all are already gone through an NLP, so I don't want to discuss about the means chapter names. Okay, although it is mentioned here, you can go through it. So which task is defined as the breaking up a text into individual sentences using cues like periods or exclamation points, and that is none other than sentence segmentation, right? Is the breaking up of a text into individual sentences. Then what does the caret, this symbol, represent when it is the first character inside the square bracket, such as this one? So this obviously means negation. We all know that, right? This means negation. Then how does the word peace algorithm decide which symbol pairs to mask? So it chooses the mark that most increases the language model likelihood of the training data. So it increases the language model likelihood that we source, right? So that way, the word peace algorithm decides which symbol pairs to pass. Minimum edit distance. So what does the minimum edit distance between two strings represents? It represents the minimum number of editing operations like insertion, deletion, substitution needed to transform one string into the other, right? Minimum edit distance. Then what is the time complexity of computing the edit distance between a string of length n and a string of length m? So that is, we all know, computing the edit distance between a string of length n and a string of length m will be n into m equal of n into m. Then from an n-gram language modeling, first question, the bigram Markov assumption simplifies the probability calculation by assuming what? The probability of the word depends only on the immediate preceding words or preceding words, right? So that's what the bigram Markov assumption simplifies probability calculation by assuming this thing, right? The probability of the word depends only on the immediate preceding word. Then perplexity is formally defined as what? That is the inverse perplexity. Remember, inverse probability of the test set normalized by the number of words. Why is discounting necessary in break-off models? Because to free probability mass from the n-grams for assignment to unseen n-grams. I'm repeating again. Why is discounting necessary in break-off models? Because to free probability mass from the observed n-grams for assignment to unseen n-grams. Then on the naive theorem, separate naive part of the naive base refers to that means keep the mobile phone silent. The name part of the name base refers to which part assumption. Actually, bag of words and the conditional independent features given the class. Laplace add-on smoking is used to what? Avoid zero probabilities by adding 1 to every word count in the numerator. That is Laplace add-on. We are adding 1 to every word count in the numerator. Then in the logistic regression is defined as or classified as, we all know that is what? Discriminative classifier. Remember, logistic regression falls under discriminative classifier. In SGD, what is hyperparameter? Hyperparameter is a parameter chosen by the designer as, for example, learning rate rather than being learned by the model. So we choose that, right? Rather than being learned by the model. Vector semantics and embedding sectors. The first question, representation learning in deep learning allows a system to learn features like embedding directly from the data. Okay, representation learning in deep learning allows a system to learn features like embedding directly from the data. Which matrix is used to solve analogies like king, man, woman, queen? So this type of things we do with the parallelogram method. Okay, the parallelogram method. Then, what is the mathematical definition of the ReLU activation function? We all know that this ReLU is what? Max, right? Max of Z0. That is very important. You should know that ReLU activation function y is equal to max of Z0. LSTM solved the vanishing gradient problem by using what? It uses neural circuits called gates, forget, add, output to manage contacts. It's very important. LSTM solved the vanishing gradient problem by using neural circuits called GATCH, forget, add, output to management contacts. Now that's what. In a transformer, what is the role of keys in the attention mechanism? Remember, preceding inputs used as an index to determine similarity to the query, right? In a transformer, the role of keys in the attention mechanism is the preceding inputs used as an index to determine similarity to query. Why is attention described as being quadratic in there? Because every query is dotted with every key in the sequence. You can take a screenshot, very important question. Now come to large language models. Okay, LLMs and BART. So in the BART's next sentence prediction, task determines what? Two sentences are an adjacent pair from the corpus or are related. Two sentences are an adjacent pair from the corpus or unrelated. Then in LoRa, there is low rank adaptation. The model updates what? A low rank decomposition of the weight matrix using two smaller matrices. Then machine translation and RAG. In RAG what? RAG means retrieval augmented generation. The two main components are, we all know that this retriever and the reader, right? Let me underline it. So in RAG, retrieval augmented generation, the two main components are retriever and the reader. Which metric evaluates MD by character and gram overlap between hypothesis and reference? And that is CSRF or character F score. Okay. So that matrix which evaluates the MD by character and gram overlap between hypothesis and reference is the CSRF character F score. Sequence leveling and passing. The Viterbi algorithm complexity of M position and K text is, remember, big O of M K. Big O and K. What is the time complexity of CKY algorithm? That is big O of N Q. Remember. An arc in dependency parsing is projective if there is a path from head to every word lying between the head and dependent. Which architecture uses slots and values to represent user intention? That is frame-based or GUS architecture. Remember, the frame-based GUS architecture uses slots and values to represent user intention. In a dialect evaluation, what is slot error rate? Right. And the slot error rate is inserted plus deleted plus substituted slots divided by total reference slots. This is the dynamic programming. Dynamic programming is applicable when sub-problems are what? They are actually not independent, right? And share some kind of sub-problems. Okay, dynamic program will applicable only when the sub-problems are not independent and share some sub-problem. What is the running time of matrix chain multiplication algorithm? And that we know we go of NLP. Then again, I am repeating some questions there. Okay. So what is morpheme in linguistic study? Morpheme is the primitive meaning bearing unit of a language. Morpheme is the primitive meaning bearing unit of a language. Which level of NLP focuses on how sentences are used in different contexts and how you affect interpretation? That is pragmatics. Pragmatics focuses on how sentences are used in different contexts and how it affects the interpretation. Natural language generation involves what? Deep planning and synthetic generation. So, natural language generation involves deep planning, what to say, and synthetic generation. In regex pattern, it is that the dash is used to what? Specify a range of characters in a sequence. In regex, aliases matches any alphanumeric character or underscore, so that we do with W, right? Small W. Then the regex B specifically matches what? Boundary, right? A word boundary. What is the result of applying stemming to the word computerized? That is, stemming, if we apply computerized, that means it becomes what? Computer. Split-ticks are defined in tokenization as words that do not stand on their own, right? As for example, RE in Uyghur. They are known as split-ticks. In Chinese word tokenization, what is the most common basic unit treated as a token? And that is individual characters. In byte pair encoding algorithm, it chooses which symbol to merge the parts. The most frequently adjacent ones are the ones that is chosen to be merged parts. Right? Which subword algorithm is used by BART and focuses on likelihood maximization, that is word mix. Right? Then in morphological typology, agglutinative language forms words by combining discrete particles where boundaries are clear. Remember? Highlight this. So in morphological typology, agglutinative language forms words by combining discrete particles where boundaries are clear. Then lemmatization is more sophisticated than theming because why? It considers context to find the actual display form, which rejects quantifier matches at least n times, but not more than n times. So that will be NM, right? n bands, but not more than n bands. The encode is in regex means what? The beginning of a line. This means beginning of a line. In which stage of a text analytics specifies paragraph, sentences, and words? That is lexical analysis. What is free morpheme? A unit that can stand as a word. The task sentence segmentation is difficult primarily because punctuation marks like periods are ambiguous. Fusional languages are a subcategory of what? Synthetic or synthetic languages. Which task involves assigning grammatical features like tense or gender to morpheme? That is the morphological feature tagging. So morphological feature tagging involves assigning grammatical features like tense and gender to morphemes. The Markov assumption in n-gram states that the probability of a word depends on what? Only on the previous n-1 words. The Unigram model calculates sentence probability as the product of individual word probabilities. What is the main problem with the maximum likelihood estimation for n-grams? That is, it assigns zero probability to unseen n-grams. In naive-Bayes classification, what does MAP stands? MAP stands for maximum a posteriori or posteriori. Maximum a posteriori. The formula for Laplace smoothing for a bigram, okay, is that is this one. You just ignore this dollar symbol. Okay, Cn-1 and +1 divided by Cn-1 plus b. And which evaluation matrix measures the weighted average branching factor of a language? That is perplexity. Perplexity measures what? The weighted average branching factor of a language. Backoff in n-gram modeling means what? Using lower order n-gram if the higher order one has 0 count. So backoff in n-gram modeling means using a lower order n-gram if the higher order one has 0 count. In a confusion matrix, false positives are what? Negative items incorrectly predicted as positive, right? Negative items, but they are actually incorrectly predicted as positive. Which means, which matrix is the harmonic mean of precision and recall? We all know that is F1 measure. F1 measure is the harmonic mean of precision and recall. Micro-averaging in multi-class evaluation involves what? Pulling counts from all classes to compute a single score. Okay, to compute a single score. Then what happens to unknown words in a standard naive-Bayes test phase? That is, they are ignored and removed from the test document. What happens to unknown words in a standard naive-Bayes test phase? So they are ignored and removed from the test document. Naive-Bayes is considered as a linear classifier because we all know this. It is a linear function of the input features. Stop words are defined as very frequent words like the, a, is a. Okay. Which dataset is commonly used for evaluating word similarity? That is Simlax 999. Simlax 999 is commonly used as for evaluating word similarity. The conditional independence assumption in naive-Bayes assumed feature of probabilities are independent of each other given the class. So conditional independence assume that feature probabilities are independent of each other given the class. In a Shannon's visualization methods, bigrams are generated by randomly selecting words according to their bigram probability. Which n-gram model toolkit is mentioned in this here, right? Or where I have taught these things. So that is ScanLM. Discounting in n-gram model is used to probability mass for unseen n-grams. Which matrix is specifically used for in vivo or extrinsic evaluation? That is task space accuracy. Task space accuracy, that is for in vivo. Tenfold cross validation means training and testing the model is how many times? 10 times. Decision boundary of a logistic regression classifier is typically 0.5. Okay, ignore that, this symbol. Sigmoid function maps any real value to what? 0 and 1. It will be between 0 and 1. In the context of embedding and anisotropy refers to the uneven distribution of word vectors in space, right? Anisotropy means uneven distribution of word vectors in space. Very important. Which weighting scheme handles the vocabulary mismatch problem? That is tense embedding. Word to vec deals with vocabulary mismatch problem. Point-wise mutual information is 0 if two words are independent. What is the goal of L2 regularization? That is to penalize large weight by adding the sum of their squares to the loss. In word to vec, skip gram model aims to predict the context words from a target word. Cosine similarity between two actors is computed as the dot product divided by the product of their lengths. Then softmax is used in multinomial logistic regression to ensure the output probability is sum to what? 1. And we have vector space model in information retrieval typically uses which type of vectors? That is the sparse vectors based on word counts, right? Just a minute. This term refers to the laziness dimension of affective meaning, that is valence. So valence refers to the pleasantness dimension of affective meaning. And in SGD, the update of a weight W is what does this E refers? That refers to the learning rate for hyperparameter. Okay, as I said, I just ignore the dollar marks. Negative log likelihood is another name for cross entropy loss. Then, if two words have first order co-occurrence, they are typically found near each other. Okay, they are typically found near each other. The result of king, man, woman in a word embedding space is typically closest to queen. Right. Term frequency in TF-IDF is often squashed using what? Log 10. Right. Then, which model uses self-supervision to avoid needing human level? And that is word to vec, that uses self-supervision, right? In logistic regression, the bias term acts as what? An intercept that shifts the decision boundary. Second order co-occurrence, paradigmatic association means words have similar neighbors. Which embedding model was developed by Stanford? That is GLOVE. What prevents a single perceptron from solving the XOR problem? That is, it can only learn linear decision boundaries. The derivative of ReLU function is 0. Backward differentiation in neural networks rely on whose mathematical rule? That is the Sein rule. backward differentiation related to a chain rule. What is the purpose of hidden layer in a multi-layer perceptron? That is to form useful non-linear representation of the input. In an RNN, the hidden state ST is a function of what? Is a function of previous hidden state. XT and previous hidden state. Unrolling in time allows an RNN to be trained using standard back propagation. Which problem does the LSTM architecture specifically address? Vanishing gradient and long distance dependencies. The forget get in an LSTM determines what? What to delete from the context layer. In an encoder-decoder model for translation, the context vector is a representation of the entire source sentence. The transformer architecture replaces recurrence with attention mechanism. In a transformer attention head, the values represent what? The actual content to be weighted and summed. Multi-head attention is used to allow the model to attend to different relationships in a context simultaneously. The layer norm in a transformer block is a variation of the Z-core. What is the function of positional embedding in transformer? To provide information about the order of tokens in the sequence. The standard complexity of self-attention for a sequence of length L is big O L squared. A bidirectional encoder allows its output vector to incorporate information from the entire input sequence, right? Bidirectional encoder, BART. It allows its output vector to incorporate information from the entire input sequence. In BART's MLM, okay, training, what percent of tokens are replaced with a random mode? 10%. 10% tokens are replaced with a random mode. Hallucination. What is hallucination in large language model? Hallucination is the model generating false or misleading information, right? Retrieval augmented generation, RAG, combines with LM with what? Information retrieval system. Biotech scheme is used for which tasks? Biotagging scheme is used for named entity recognition. What is the time complexity of Viterbi algorithm? That is big O of n k square. Constituency parsing focuses on what? Hierarchical pressure structures. That is constituency parsing, NPVP. CKY algorithm requires the grammar to be in Chomsky normal form. Dependency parsing describes syntax using what? Directed binary grammar relations between heads and dependents. A dependency tree is a projective if all edges can be drawn without crossing. In a dialog system, slots are part of what? Which architecture? Frame-based architecture. The dialog policy in dialog state architecture decides what? What the system should say next. Dialog policy in a dialog state architecture decides what the system should say next. Which evaluation matrix for question answering system uses the reciprocal of the rank of the parse for a answer? That is the mean reciprocal rank. Lexicalization in NNG replaces slot values with generic placeholder. Right? That is delexicalization in allergy. The inverted index in IR is used to efficiently find documents containing specific query type. Inverted index. Teacher forcing in an RNN means during training, the next input is the correct word from the training data. In dynamic programming, the sub-problem solutions are stored in a table or matrix to avoid the computation. What is the base case cost for a single matrix in a matrix chain multiplication? That is 0. Memorization is a strategy. Memorization is strategy for which type of approach, that is top-down approach, inefficient recursion plus table. The complexity of CKY algorithm is, we all know, big O and Q. In the rod cutting problem, Rn represents the maximum revenue of a rod of size N. Which DP problem uses arrows like this to reconstruct an optimal solution, and that is longest common subsequence. In an optimal binary search tree, the goal is to minimize expected search cost. Expected search cost को हमें कम करना है. We need to reduce this minimize this expected search cost, right? That is the goal of the optimal BST. Optimal substructure means that an optimal solution to a problem contains optimal solutions to each sub-problems. Which problem can be solved in big O NM type using dynamic programming, and that is minimum edge distance between string of length N and N. So these are the important questions that I arranged for you for the subject NLP. If anyone has any doubt, then you can ask me. Okay, which is ending this class. Thank you.